holding on. Thank you so much for attending my presentation and hold on till the last of at this late hour. So let's make the long story short and talk about my topic. And many people actually were asking about target needs and learning needs. And this is the focus of my presentation, which is learning needs. Well, my presentation, okay, can you see my...
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so the title, as you may notice, is Needs Analysis that EFL teachers overlook, means they neglect the necessity to conduct by hook or by crook, which is very important to conduct, in addition to what we call target needs. So let me talk about needs analysis, and I lose what's theory, but we have to have a look at it because it's the basis of my presentation. Riviere in 1996 defines needs assessment as a systematic process of collection and analysis as input into resource allocation decision with a view to discovering and identifying goods and services the community is lacking in relation to the generally accepted standards and for which there exists some consensus as the community's responsibility for their provision. And McKillip adds that needs analysis or assessment is a decision aiding tool used to resource allocation, program planning, and program development in the fields of health, education, and human services. And of course, our field is education. In language learning context, NA is traced back to the 1970s, when its procedure first appeared in language planning. While such procedures have a long tradition in other areas of adult learning, their use in language teaching became widespread, with their adoption and espousal by the Council of Europe's modern language projects. In these Council of Europe documents, NA is used as an initial process for the specification of behavioral objectives. All in all, NA is the cornerstone of any ESP course and recently has become very important in EGB course as well. So what are needs? There are two types of needs, which is actually the bulk of my work. Target needs, which Dr. Ali has just mentioned that they are also neglected, and that's really a pity, that's true. But most of them, they're making, a very noticeable effort to collect target needs. They are also synonymous to objective needs, and someone actually asked the question in the very beginning, what are objective needs and subjective needs? So target needs are synonymous to objective needs and are synonymous to product-oriented needs, means something concrete. When we talk about product, is the end. It's something concrete and refers to needs which are derivable from different kinds of factual information about learners, their use of language in real-life communication situations, as well as their current language proficiency and language difficulties. I may give you some examples. The language you use in your job. You wanna, for instance, give a speech. You wanna get engaged in a meeting. You wanna respond to email as a part of a need. You wanna be good at reading email and faxes. You want to give instructions to your nurses if you're a medical doctor. You want to haggle over a price if you're a businessman. All of them are objective needs, which we can collect via some tools like focus group discussions, questionnaires, interviews, diaries, etc. Now, the second type of learning needs that really overlooked and neglected by many teachers, either EFL or ESP, subject matter teachers. They are called also subjective needs and process-oriented. Here, we're talking about something abstract. It refers to the cognitive and affective needs of the learner in the learning situation, derivable from information about affective and cognitive factors such as personality, confidence, attitudes, learners' wants, and expectations with regard to the learning of English and their individual cognitive style and learning strategies. I may give you examples. Learning styles are important when we design materials, when we select materials. This is why we have to know our learning style, the learning styles of our learners or target learners, strategies as well, which side of the brain, for instance, our learners refer to, either right hemisphere or left hemisphere. And there are some tests actually that really show Either our learners use analytic or holistic way of thinking. Cognitive factors such as personality, age, attitude. I may give you example, people who have upper rank and they study with people with lower rank, for instance, under EOP, they may have a kind of assumption that is negative. I'm in a higher rank, I have a negative, I cannot be in the same group with someone with a lower rank. People who are Hebrew, for instance, as regards Algerian people, if we are in the same group with Hebrew people or those who speak Hebrew, we will have maybe some negative attitude. Motivation, which one of the students mentioned that whatever I do to my students, they are never motivated. Of course, if they come in the morning and they are not very efficient in the morning and the subject matter is difficult in the morning, you can expect that they can never be or they can never come motivated. If you take your learners after 5 p.m. or the subject matter or the module you are teaching, the unit you are teaching takes place in the afternoon, and some of them are not very efficient in the afternoon, so you never expect your learners to be motivated enough or to follow with you. These are just some examples where I'm going to go into details. Types of ESP, of course, most of you know the types of ESP, EOP, English for Occupational Purposes, and EIP, which is English for Academic Purposes. Now, EIP is divided into discipline-based, which I call EMI, or English as a medium of instruction. I may give example, teaching biology in English, teaching mathematics in English, teaching computing in English. And this is actually which I didn't agree with you, with Dr. Meltem and Dr. Wafa, and many of you, of the attendees. They think we are very influenced in Algeria and in Turkey by English as an independent subject. But before I go on, let me give you the second division, which is school subject. I may give you example. Mathematics is taught now in Algeria. Some mathematics terminologies are taught in French. So if English as a school subject is mathematics in middle school and high school is taught in English. This is the example or the division of EAP. I'm explaining better. EOP. EOP is divided into what? Pre-experience, simultaneous, post-experience. This is easy. I may give you example. Medical doctors, pre-experience before they start working in hospital or start working in their clinic. Simultaneous, they are in-service doctors, and at the same time they are taking ESP class. Post-experience, they have already started their career or their job, and afterward they faced many difficulties, and then they decided to join your ESP class simply because they faced many difficulties in their workplace. Now, this is the chart or the map of Strivens. It's not mine. It's divided into occupational academic. Now, it's school subject integrated, independent. What is integrated means the subject matter is taught in English. Independent, like what's going on in Algeria and Turkey. All non-English departments are teaching subject matter, but English is not ESP. Most of the time it's EGP, but it's independent. It's not integrated like the case of EMI, which is English as a medium of instruction. In the left side, discipline-based. Discipline-based, we mentioned pre-study, which Dr. Amel has just mentioned, which is a prep school. In many developed countries, prep school exists actually, which is not the case in Algeria. Of course, situation in Algeria is worse than in Turkey, and I spent more than 6 months in Turkey, and I can see some similarities between our system and theirs, and our language planning and policy and theirs. And we have in study, of course, in sessional people who study, for instance, cell biology in the field of biology, immunology, genetics, for instance, ecology of animals. All of these modules are taught in English. It's not, for instance, in Algeria, cell biology or ecology of animal is taught in French or in Arabic. but only there is one module English, which is called, of course, ESP, but most of the time we teach general English because, of course, of lack of training and many other things most of the presenters have mentioned. ESP in Nigeria, this is the chart made by me. We've got academic, undergraduate to postgraduate. I may give you example, School of Mathematics and Artificial Intelligence. We have School of Institute of Electronics Synergies, Institute of Economic Synergies as well. In all these institutes, the modules, I mean, more than 11 modules are taught in English by Algerians who were taught or who were trained abroad and who were taught these modules abroad in English, and they are teaching them in these institutes. And of course, this is why the government has decided to include English in order to teach it to other specialities, in order to what? To generalize EMI at the higher education. When we talk about vocational, professional, or sociocultural, we have language schools and we have home tutor, which is one-to-one tuition. And most of the time in language schools, actually where we can carry course design and we have the freedom, we have a say to carry on or, to carry out or design a course. Okay, I'm gonna give you some practical examples and questionnaires or surveys and interviews about medical doctors, military aviators, and students of management. And I wanna ask you, what are the target needs and what are the learning needs? So can I, yes, give you this survey. Are you following with me? Well, can you hear me, Melissa?
Yes, sure, we are following.
So this is a questionnaire developed by me to medical staff questionnaire. I go through quickly and I want to ask you what are target needs and learning. Oops, sorry. I hate this MacBook. So, okay, are you a student, general practitioner, resident physician, specialist medical doctor? How long have you been studying English? Please take notes which question addresses learning needs. Most of them are target needs, which are objective needs. How long have you been studying English? Rate the following needs according to your, according to the scale below. Important, neutral, not important. We have general English, English for academic purpose English, for academic purposes, English for professional, English for vocational. For which skill and language components you'd like to improve, listening, speaking, reading, writing, etc., and grammar translation. Which kind of difficulties you're facing, and I detailed them, of course, most of the difficulties, but just in case I don't know other difficulties, so I added other. Which writing skills, what reading skills you wanna improve, which listening comprehension skills you wanna improve, which, yes, this is repeated, preferred face-to-face lesson timing, morning during the week, afternoon, end of the day, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. You want to take lessons in the hospital or at your clinic, etc. You may add any other question. Give your preferences of class, days, and timing. Means you prefer any other timing, any other day during the week. How do you want to learn English? In group, alone, online, hybrid. How often would you like to take class or to want to take English? 2 hours per week, 3 hours per week, 4 hours a week. For how long you want to learn English? For 6 weeks, for 6 months, more than 6 months, or maybe more, it's okay. Which learning tool you prefer to use the most? Videos, audios, printed materials, PowerPoint presentations, diversity tools, handouts, textbooks. You may add any other material you prefer. Maybe listening to native speaker, listening to a lecture, maybe audio, anything you want to add. Of course, this is why I added other. Would you be interested in receiving emails about international webinar opportunities? Of course, this is in order to get in touch or keep in touch with your learners. The second one is aviation English questionnaire survey plus interview. And tell me what's the difference in my questions and what is missing. Would you let me know your age and rank? This is for military aviation. For how long have you been working at this position? How do you perceive the role of English in your workplace? Do all job tasks require English language? Which difficulties usually face during your daily hands-on training? Which language skills you think you need to improve the most? This is a survey. Or I could give it as a semi or structured interview. Structured interview is quite akin to questionnaire survey. Now, open-ended interview are the same questions. Would you let me know your age? How do you perceive the English in military? Which difficulties you face in your daily hands-on? Is English more important at wartime than at peacetime? This is open-ended, of course, because it requires a kind of conversation, a kind of interaction between the researcher and the aviator. How would you behave during emergency turn of events? And this is also requires an open-ended question. Does phraseology suffice in case of non-routine situations? Which language skills you think you need to improve the most? Here is the questionnaire and the structured interview, and they want to know whether I targeted or I addressed targets, needs, or learning needs, and are there any learning needs inside? Number 3, these are just examples. 3 questions for management students. Please, would you take notes and tell me where is the learning need? I remember information better if I write it down. Looking at the person helps keep me focused. I need a quieter place to get my work done. When I take a test, I can view the textbook page in my mind. Skimming and scanning are the main points to emphasize. I take frequent study breaks, means I cannot study continuously. I have to take breaks. I have occasional meetings with British colleagues. I do not follow written directions well. Defending thesis requires effort and focus. I have to write reports. I use the trial and error approach to problem solving. I have a difficult time giving step-by-step instructions. Future perfect doesn't exist in my first language. I type my class notes to reinforce the material. My nurse wants to understand my instructions. Writing medical reports is tedious, but imperative. Hope that you interacted with me and immerse some of them, of course, in these questions for, it's not for management students and medical doctors, a mixture, that some learning needs are addressed and some of them are not, and some of them actually are, do not belong to, do not represent any needs. So I guess I'm done with this. If you have any questions and comments, you're free. Of course, I have many other things to say, but maybe during discussion. Thank you so much for your time listening.